Hello again. I'm going to do a completing the square method on this quadratic. And the thing about this one is that there is a number in front of the x squared. It's not a single positive x squared. And so even though I want to do the completing the square, I can't do it yet. First I must do a little bit of factorizing out. So my first line will look like this. Y equals, I take out the 2, or whatever number is next to the x squared, and then inside the bracket I now have 2 times, well, the first term will be x squared, because 2 times that will give me 2x squared. The second term will be 5 over 2, because 2 times that would give me the 5. That's an x. And then I'm going to only do that factorizing on the first 2 terms. The last term, the minus 17, I'm going to leave on the end. I can now use the completing the square method on the x squared and the x term, and I'll do that separately, and then only once I've done that will I bring back in the 2 and the 17. So I'll do this little bit on the inside in a different color so you can see very clearly what it is that I do. So I'm just going to use the completing square method on these 2 terms here. I'll just write those ones down, and what I've got is I've got x squared minus 5 over 2x. And the method goes like this. You take the x term and you halve it. So you get half of that, and what will be minus 5 over 4. So you take the coefficient of the x squared, of the x term, and halve it. So that was halving the original coefficient. Then you have to square it, and you get 25 over 16. So it's squaring it. And you add that on, and you take it away, because by doing that you don't change the value of anything, you just change the way that it looks. And so what we now have is, just for this middle term, remember, leaving the 2 and the 17 alone for now, just for these middle terms, what I have is x squared minus 5 on 2x. The first 2 terms don't change. Then I do my plus 25 on 16, my minus 25 on 16. Having done that all beautifully correctly, we now have those first 3 terms forming a perfect square. And they will form this one, x minus, the number that comes next will be the number that you got when you halved the x term, the coefficient that you got when you halved the x term. So that minus 5 on 4 is the same as the minus 5 on 4 here. Whatever that is will fit in here. That first term is all squared, and I'm left with minus 25 on 16. That is the completing the square method done on those middle 2 terms. Now let's go back to where we were before. What we now have is that y equals, the 2 stays where it was before, but this time on the inside, instead of those 2, I'm going to put all of my completed the square method. So I'm now going to get x minus 5 on 4 squared minus 25 on 16. And that's all within the bracket, and I've still got my minus 17 stuck on the outside end. Now I'm going to multiply. I'm going to multiply in that 2 times the first term, times that first one, and then 2 times the second one, just to expand that bracket out. So I should get something like this. Y equals 2 times the first bit, 2 times x minus 5 on 4 squared, minus, and then 2 times 25 on 16 is 25 on 8, because the 2 divides into the 16 8 times. And I've still got the minus 17 stuck on the end. Nearly there now. I just have to combine the last 2 numbers. So y equals 2 into x minus 5 on 4 squared minus, now 25 on 8, well, 8 goes into 25 3 times, remainder 1, so that's 3 and 1/8 minus 17, and finally 2 into x minus 5 on 4 squared, that should be a 4, minus 20 and 1/8. And that's it, finished.